Morning, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. Apologies for the delayed start there. It's having a few little issues my end, but we're good to go now. And we're going to be looking at sort of adding users within the 3CX portal. So there have been a few changes, and especially to version 20, there are going to be new ways in which to add users. So really, it's just from instead of the management console, it's now going to be through the client portal. That the users can use, and you can set different permissions. But so here we are in the this is our test account, just at the main dashboard. Now you have to be an admin, obviously, to set users and set new users up. But if you are an admin, at the bottom left of your screen here, you should see the admin settings button. So you can click this, and it will take you to the management side. So typically, and you still can do it within the separate management console, but in version 20, everything's going to be moved over, like you see here, and you'll be able to set everything up from one portal. So we've got the main dashboard here. We can see the license information. You've got little shortcuts here to users, office hours, things like that. There's also on the left, you also have, of course, your different options, users, voice groups, things like that. For the purpose of this webinar, we're going to be looking at the users. So in here, I mean, as I said, it's a test account, so there's quite a few different test ones and different phones set up. But obviously, if you're importing a load of users or you're setting some new users up, you've got a couple of different options really. So you can obviously just add one single user at a time. Now, if you've got just a couple of users, that's going to be quite nice and easy, to do. You can also click import, and you can import from an Excel document to make things easier, especially on the larger deployments. For this purpose, though, we're going to just click add user, and that's going to take us through the the wizard and setup process. Of course, you've got your basic information, quite self-explanatory. So we'll just put the name of the user. In this case, I'm just going to put Jason Test, and then of course an email for that user, so they can receive their passwords and whatnot. You can also set a mobile number up in this account. If you want to have, use it for failover, or just have one available on the account. We can then choose the roles. Now, there are a few different roles available. Of course, you've got your group admin, your manager, your owner, more admin users that have more control of each, users in their group or just overall in the system. The most popular is going to be the user and the receptionist. Now, the user can only really manage their own account. They can't see any admin information. Really, it's just seeing their own calls. Whereas a receptionist, they can manage everyone else's calls, see everyone else's calls, but they can't configure any part of the system. So obviously, with it being a reception, they have more visibility within the system. You can then, of course, assign a DDI number if you've got it set up in your that's more done in the SIP trunk section. But if you've got some available there, you can set a DDI up for each individual user. So moving on, we're going to look at 3CX Talk. So this is quite a nice feature that you could put into an email footer, for example. So you've got a Talk URL and you've also got a Meet URL available. So main difference being Talk is more just audio, and there's also a chat available, whereas Meet, you have more of a video call available. So it's going to ask, or you can choose what you want the system to ask for, so you can get some more information before the call starts. For this purpose, we'll just do name, but as you can see, we've got name and email address. You can require nothing and it'll come straight through. But let's do name in this case. And we'll actually show cases as well. So you can actually just hit save. It'll take you back out. So you're going to have to find the user again. Let's get back into that one. So we can click edit. So everything's updated now. And we can copy the URL across. So if we open this up in a new tab, so what it's going to do here is it has actually kept a different account. So it hasn't actually asked for my name this time, but what it should do is just ask for your name. You put it in, then it'll open up to this little chat, and then you can start typing messages to the user, or of course you can just click the call button, and it's going to start dialing the number. Video works very similar, where it'll just start and initiate a video call. As I said, quite useful for putting in your email footers, or you might want to put, in your LinkedIn or something like that. So quite nice and useful to, especially for sales guys, to get straight through to somebody and just kind of make it easier for someone to, potential customer to reach out to you. The call forwarding, so this is the main routing of the calls, and you've got plenty of different options available depending on the user's status. So they're all fairly similar in what they they actually do in terms of forwarding calls. But if you look at available, so if there's no answer in 20 seconds, again, you can change that to be 30 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever you want it to be. But you can choose what happens in the case that it goes past that time. So it might go to voicemail. You can set it to an additional extension number. And this really, if you've got a sales team, it's calling a sales guy, and then the answer for 20 seconds. You can then forward it to the rest of the sales team. You also have an option for internal calls, so you can do very similar things. You can forward it to an extension number, or typically with internal calls, it might just be to a mobile or to voicemail. So we've also got busy or non-registered users. So if they're away or they're already on a call, you can again choose what you'd like to happen. So again, extension number, system extension, something like that. So and you have options for all these. So you've got one for available. Again, if you're away, you can choose what you want to happen. So just go straight to voicemail, dial a mobile, and they all have these. So fairly similar in what they can do, but just giving you a bit more customization. So schedule. So schedule is for receiving calls, out of hours. You can kind of choose your hours. So you can do this per user. So we can click automatically switch status to available during office hours, and this also gives us then some options for the for out of office. So you can just keep it with the defaults if you're going to have just a set time for the entire company of office hours, which is quite typical. You can set that within the system and then just use, all the users can use the exact same settings. If you wanted it to be specific to a user, you can then click this button, which the extension uses specific office hours, and you can customize the office hours. You can add your lunch breaks or any other breaks you might have, and this could be useful for if there's somebody that's on call, out of office hours, they're obviously, you'd want a call to go through to them, and it not follow the set rules by the system. Or if you're a managing director, you might want to receive calls 24/7. I don't know, but you've got the option to customize here. You can then, of course, add and configure a phone from here for that user. So there's a button here, configure a phone, and you can have multiple phones, if that's needed. It'll then take you through the wizard to actually configure that phone, and it's going to ask you where the phone is going to be located, so if it's out the office or if it's in the office on the local network. For this purpose, the setup is pretty similar, but for this setup, we'll just do if it's outside of the office, you can hit next, and it's going to ask you and give you a little bit of information about router phones. If you're not aware of what a router phone is, essentially, there are some models nowadays that have an SBC built into the phone, such as a Fanville V64 or a T54W from Yealing, for example. And this makes configuration a lot easier because there is an SBC is required. So let's say we've got a router phone here, we could just hit next, and then it's going to ask you for the model and the MAC address. I don't actually have a MAC address to hand, but essentially once you put the MAC address in, you can add the phone, and then you can provision that phone. So hit back. And as I said, you can have multiple phones if needed. You might have one at home and one in the office, for example. You can set both up from here for that user. Then we'll go to BLFs. So BLFs are, in this case, is for the 3CX account of the user. And this is quite a nice little feature because typically with desk phones you are limited to the number of BLF calls or keys on that phone. Whereas with 3CX, basically it's unlimited. So for a receptionist point of view, they have lots and lots of BLF keys available, which is often a concern for a receptionist. So again, we can have different options in here. It might be BLF, speed dial. So speed dial is quite a common one and just calls straight to an extension number. So if we did this one here, and that would show within the web client portal for that user, so they could go to their little phone at the top, and then you'd be able to see all the BLFs on the right hand side of that. And you can just go through pages of those, as you add more and more. And you can click add more BLFs down here, and you can, as I said, you can add basically unlimited. So, and then we've got the final setting, which is going to be the options. So with the options, you can do a few restrictions. So for example, you can disable the extension entirely. You could disable external calls. So if you just wanted them to be able to make calls internally. You can show call recording, and that means that they can see the past recordings for their own user. You can allow detection of recordings. You can also hide call forwarding rules for the user as well, just so there's a few restrictions in place if those are needed. And then we also have call recording options. So select if you want the recording enabled and choose from the available recording options. So got recording off. You can record all calls or just record the external calls. Now, can start and stop call recording rights is only an enterprise feature, so bear that in mind. But this is essential for if you're going to take card payments over the phone, for example. You need to be able to stop the recording, and then you might want to start it again after you've taken those details. But in terms of the setup, that is about it. There's a couple of little other options I wouldn't have covered, such as you can add a picture for the user, or you could reset the password so they'll get a new email. So if you do have a user that's lost their password, you can just come into their user and reset password, and it's going to send them a new email. Yeah, I mean that's about it in terms of the user setup. One thing you might have noticed is you can't actually edit the extension number of the user yet. So that's coming to when the full version 20 comes out, you'll be able to change the extension number. But currently you have to do that from the other management console. But as I said, it's going to be changing, so it'll be updated soon. So as I said, get your questions in if you do have any. If there's anything you want me to go back over, just let me know. And I'll stick around for a couple of minutes to see if anyone has any questions. Doesn't look like we've got any questions. So as I said, I mean, you can always reach out to myself. It's Jason at ProView if you do need me. Or you can just call on the main number and then just ask for Jason. You get through to me. We can go over any questions you've got. I just want me to go back over anything. Just let me know. So thanks everyone for attending, and I'll see you in the next one.